I am Scott Gould, one of the cousins, and I was honored to be asked by everybody to say a few words about Uncle Ubi. Most of what I remember about Uncle Ubi was when I was very young, and it was either visiting him and Effie at their house or having them come to our house. A lot of the themes that everybody else has talked about were the same things that I thought of. Number one is he always had four things: a camera, a big smile on his face, a cup of coffee, and those cats. He always gave me a great big hug, and I enjoyed hanging out with him and David and the girls as well. And I dare say one of the reasons that I got into photography was because he always had his camera around. He was always taking pictures, and yes, the post thing was at my house too. Just a couple of stories that I was thinking of. You know, I have you'll notice later, I have a scar on my forehead from a little accident I had when I was a young kid.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. And my parents at the time wanted him to take a picture for whatever reason. He couldn't do it, and I always remember if he couldn't do it, they said that nobody could do it. I don't know, but it was all what we were going through. He had the camera and the gadgets and the lights and the latest technology. A funny story that I also remember is you guys had come down once for a trip when we were in Long Island, and it was the end of the day, and I had, yes, Uncle Ubi, I did it, I had scratched his red Dodge Dart with my new bike. I had moved the bike up against it. And he didn't, he wasn't mad, didn't get upset, and that was Ubi. He tried to make a joke out of it, didn't work very well. But again, same thing at the house. He had his little Polaroid Instamatic camera, and he was taking pictures of the scratch and the rose bushes and the family. And at the time, I just thought it was the coolest thing. Being a little kid, you take a picture, and 5 minutes later you can see it, because way back in the 70s, that was the nearest, that was the thing.
Explain to the children.
It's called a Polaroid.
It's a Polaroid camera.
You wait,
Fold
and then
up
you
thing.
pull it out, and it
You probably had some.
evaporates.
So, but yes, I did dread the car rides to your house in Staten Island. But it was all fun. We always had a great time. In the past few years, when my wife and I, when our children were younger, I remember hanging out at Randy and Ricky's house, and he was always there, of course, with his camera. He insisted on taking pictures, especially of our youngest, Jenna, and I still have some of those photos. We will always cherish them. And I remember that the first thing that I thought of when I thought of Ubi was the kids, because my kids were they always just gravitated towards him. All the kids gravitated towards them. Even today, when I came into the shul, I heard downstairs there must be a nursery school or something. But I remember the kids, and he always loved hanging out with my kids. And yes, he gave them candy too, because that was the first thing he gave my son Jacob. Harold's, he loves going there. He said the portions were ridiculous, but that was Ubi. Even recently, I remember that I talked to Aunt Effie. He would still call her, and everybody said he could sit next to her. They would still kibitz. They would still pick at each other. If you didn't know they were divorced, you would never have known they were divorced, because they acted the same before as they did afterwards. But he was always there, calling her when she was in rehab and making a phone call every now and then when she was at home. They were still good friends.
You might want to explain that rehab thing.
Yeah, I'll get to that. We'll get to that. But
Broken bones.
Broken bones.
actually, in a wheelchair in the airport. And that's what I remember from him, is the ability to just take the situation as it comes, to always be friends, and it was a really good lesson to have. Most of all, I was proud of when he spent time with us in the Jewish holidays and some other simchas, with our family and with the girls and you too. He gave me that, when I walked away and thought about this, a strong sense of family, and that we are a very small family and that we really need to stick together. I wish I had as great a relationship with my dad as you guys did with yours. last things that I wanted to say is I remember that I think it was our daughter's first birthday and son's second birthday. Randy wanted to come down. Ricky was busy working 20 hours a day, and Randy said, "I can't go. My dad's going to drive with me." And he drove down with you to the party. And I can still remember what it was like to have him there. Sorry, Uncle Yui, we served fish, not steak for that dinner. And, I only wish we were able to celebrate more of those events with him. So he always went the extra mile. My wife attended a funeral for one of her best friends, and she flew to New York. She got over to the service, and she needed a ride back. And of course, somebody else mentioned the ride thing. I called Randy. She said, "Let me call Dad." And without hesitation, he went over there. He picked her up. He actually, when he was there, he visited somebody else at the cemetery. I think they went out for lunch and a cup of coffee. And then he took her back to the airport. And that was just the type of guy that he was. It wasn't even a question, and he loved to spend time. And he loved to talk, even with my, at the time, very new wife. We were married only a couple of years. And I appreciate him doing that. I will remember him for his laughter, for his smile, that camera, and the big hugs, and his love of life. And especially the children, for mine, and all of the little kids. He loved to take pictures. His second or third or fourth career was that photographer for the kids' school pictures. And you could see his face light up when he talked about that. It just gave him a lot of pleasure to make the kids laugh and to come out with some good pictures. Because he didn't have to do it. He did it because he wanted to do it and because he loved it. So Yui, we're going to miss you. We will honor you with a lot of photos, a lot of hugs, and a great cup of